Taste it.
It's working?
Mine is. Yeah, yours is also working. Yeah, good.
I'm just gonna say welcome to everyone. My name is Tina Sem. I'm working in Billedkunst magazine. We have a program called Billedkunst Live, and the aim is to travel all around the country to places maybe not that easy accessible, maybe projects or exhibitions that are not seen by many, and hopefully get a document that we can put online and more people can hear about amazing art all around the country. So this project is one of them. This is Billedkunst Live at Momentum 12 in Moss. It's a collaboration between Billedkunst, but also Høstutstillingen, the autumn exhibition, and of course the gallery Fenten, which we are in now, and Tenthaus, the curators, and norske billedkunstnere, and of course the artists involved. I just want to say that since this is being recorded and it's open for questions in the end, just have that in mind. We will not edit the conversation more than we have to. Try to keep it low-key and personal, and feel free to ask whatever that you want to ask. So the conversation itself will be somewhere between 35 and 45, maybe 50 minutes, and questions after that. We try to be finished before the parade in Moss, which starts at 3. Also, it's going to be photos from today, so if anyone doesn't want to be on the photos from the performance or the audience, please let Yannick know. Yannick is in the corner here with the cap. And yeah, hope you feel comfortable, and if you need anything, just say it as we go. I'm gonna let you speak from now on, but just a very short introduction to who's sitting here is Nayara Leite, the artist. Just had a performance outside, also exhibiting a work at Momentum 12. And we have Mabell Holand in conversation. You're an activist, I would say, a poet, a writer, amazing being. So you have two people in this room that are not afraid to speak up, and you're gonna hear more about their topics in a minute. So welcome once again, and
Yeah, thank you, Tina.
Thank you. Okay, yeah. Welcome. I'm gonna do this in English, so I'm gonna translate all my stupid thoughts in Norwegian to professional English. Nayara, I'm very happy to meet you finally. Thank you so much for your performance. It was actually a lot more heart-wrenching than I expected. I've seen some photos, and it's really something else to be standing there physically and watching you talk and perform like that. I'm expecting that the audience feel the same way.
Thank you.
You're born in 1989 in Brazil, or Brazil, as you say. And you are currently based in Bergen. You have a Master in Fine Arts from Bergen Art Academy, and also a MA from London College of Communication in Photojournalism and Documentary Photography. That is a lot of cultural capital in one human being.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, could you give us like a brief story of your development as an artist, and how do you go from maybe a child with a creative mind to like creating what you have just shown us? Would you try to share something?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Thank you, Mabell, for accepting the invitation and being here, and thank you everyone who also came to the performance and the talk. Okay, I was born in Brazil, in a city called Fortaleza, which is in the northeast of Brazil, so like not in the, cultural hub of Brazil, like São Paulo mainly, also Rio, but we don't, now we do have contemporary art museums, but we didn't when I was growing up.
Mm-hmm.
But I always loved going to art galleries and museums when I traveled, and I had the possibility like to travel a lot when I was a kid with my parents. And I think that's how I started to, maybe I could be an artist. I don't know. Maybe it's a possibility for someone from Fortaleza.
Of course.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And when university time came, photography was top of my list. That's what I wanted to study, but there was no BA course in photography in my hometown. I would have to go live in São Paulo, but I was like, the only child. I don't want to leave my parents' house now. It's not very common also in Brazil to go live, on your own with flatmates. It is getting a bit more common now, I've heard, but not in the 2000 and something when I was doing my BA. Then I chose advertising.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy.
That's the billboards?
It comes across now in performances and stuff, but because it was the closest course to photography in Fortaleza that was available to me,
Makes sense.
And we had photography courses within the 4 years of the BA. There was a darkroom, there was a photo studio and everything, so I never really worked with advertising, then I became a photographer afterwards, going through documenting events to fashion photography for a bit. And then I went to London to study. And I think it was there in the documentary photography course that I realized that I wanted to do a bit more in terms of, merging art with activism in a way. And I was living abroad for a while, actually, before I went to London. And I felt the need to talk about Brazil, to talk about what's happening when I was growing up as a queer person, and the struggles that I had to face in Brazil. So my first research about queer issues in Brazil was when I was doing this master's.
That's so cool.
There. Yeah.
Because here in Norway, or I think like in Scandinavia or in the like modern West world, whatever we call this, I think we have this idea of Brazil as very queer friendly. It's like the mecca of gay people. We have the parades, the carnival, all of these cultural events that's happening.
Yeah.
And also Brazil has the highest statistics of murders and hate crime. We're going to revisit that, but I just want to put it out there that it's actually a paradox to
Very
have
much.
a queer identity in Brazil. So yeah, keep going.
Yeah, no, I mean, then London, my first research regarding queer issues was there, and it was about the statistic of we being the country with the highest murder rate against trans people in the whole world. And I didn't know about that. I had to leave Brazil to actually learn that, And at the same time, when I was doing this project, a trans woman got murdered in my hometown in broad daylight, and the attackers filmed the whole act. Her name was Nayara dos Santos, and that also just sparkled something in me, like, why? Why are people doing this? Like, what the fuck, And I think this rage came there with this research and learning more about all of these things happening in Brazil. Like, because like you said, we have like maybe the biggest pride parade in the world in São Paulo. I think this year there were 4 million people.
It's crazy.
And then they just go and kill trans people in broad daylight,
And in your hometown, I'm assuming that must have felt like it hit too close to home,
Definitely.
both literally and emotionally.
Definitely, yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
And
so
you made a project out of that, right?
I did, yeah. It was during the MA, yeah.
That is a series of photographs, right, that are still photos from the actual video that was taken of the murder of this trans woman.
Yeah.
What was it like to work with this?
It was painful. It was really painful. It was like a really, really heavy research because I had to, I mean, I didn't have to, but I chose to see the video many times and get the stills from it. And then I also, I picked the names and the causes of death of all the, I could be wrong now, 136 trans people who were murdered within a year before the project happened. So I did like this whole research of like names and causes of death, and it was like just day and night doing this research. And
very good for mental health.
Oh yeah, I learned that. Yeah. No, when I finished the project and I exhibited in the school and everything, I just had this breakdown of like, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't. I told my tutors at the time in London, like, I don't want to, no, it's too much. It's too much.
Yeah.
So I needed to have a break, which I did for like a few months of like not making art. Luckily I was in school, so it was fine.
Yeah. So just a
it's
natural summer
nowadays.
vacation.
Yeah. And before the final project, I had like this time to like breathe because it was too much.
Yeah.
It was too much. But I'm glad that I came back to the research because that's what I need to do, I think.
Me too. I'm very glad that you didn't stop there. I think you most absolutely you're a prominent voice, and you've also made some project in Bergen and also a long project over 3 years, Caros Amigos, very good Portuguese, and also this 5000 fanzine in Bergen where you're exploring past history and merging it with present history of queer liberation movements, and that's I think that says it all. But the letters to your friends living under Jair Bolsonaro's regime, I'm calling it a regime.
Yeah.
What was it like to develop that project? Did it emerge to you naturally, or was it something that just happened to like take the shape that it did?
So that project, I started doing it when I was doing the MA in Bergen in arts, and I think it just happened naturally because Bolsonaro had just been elected in Brazil, so it was around, I think, March of the year, because he started the term in January. And in March, I was like, just, doing the research for the masters and what I'm going to work this year and everything. And it was just horrible to see how 51 million people voted for this guy.
It's crazy.
And he's just this horrible persona who he already had a hate speech during the campaign.
Oh, great! Super charming.
He was already promoting hate and homophobia, transphobia, misogyny, racism, and people still voted for him. And in my head, it was like, again, how are they going so far right in Brazil? Of course, there was Brazil has a very complex political situation. We had the Workers' Party, which is left for many years in Brazil, and the Brazilian elite got very angry because all of a sudden the kids of their maids could go to university.
Okay.
It's a big thing in Brazil.
Okay.
And so they were taking the spots at university from the rich kids. That's one of the things that happened. There's so many more reasons that he got elected and people voted for him. But so there was this hate against the Workers' Party and Lula, which is our current president, which is amazing. And then the project, sorry. I went all the way to the election and stuff. And it was just, it came from me trying to understand why would people do that, and also learn from my friends who are queer, and to see if they could explain to me what's happening.
What does it feel like? What is it like to live there?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because I think that also, again, from a Norwegian perspective, we are kind of blind to a lot of the processes that happens politically in other countries, of course. So Bolsonaro, he was actually in the national, what is it called, some kind of electoral seat in Brazil since 1991.
Yeah, in the
right?
Congress.
Yeah, Congress. That's the word.
Yeah, I think he
Yeah.
was a congressman.
So
Yeah.
that's a long time, to be politically active and then to become president is, when you think about it, it's not far fetched. He's probably built up a lot of, following over the years. So,
Yeah.
oof, we're gonna go back to him though. But
Yeah.
you've been around Europe. You've done a lot of stuff, and I really want to explore like your take on your art. It's hard to like separate it from activism. Is that something that you choose deliberately to do, or has it just become that for you? Are you personally and emotionally intertwined with whatever you do? What would you say?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't do anything else. I couldn't talk about anything else in my art. I've learned throughout these years that I can use art as a platform to hope for change and to bring awareness to people and to talk about their own privileges, make them try to see their own privilege, my own privileges as well. And I could use that as, my voice into the world. And I don't know, I had to, I had to talk about that. I can't do anything else.
I love
Because
that.
it rages me. It's just
Yeah.
like social injustice and homophobia, transphobia, racism, misogyny. All of these things are like, so it's like a way of like channeling my anger in a way. So
Do you feel like because you're Brazilian and Brazilian is such a multicultural hotspot for different ethnicities, gender expressions, like I feel like because I'm from Colombia myself, there's a big separation in terms of white Colombians in whatever and black Colombians in terms of both the cities that they live and the cultural patterns that like follows them, And my take on Brazil from an far out perspective, of course, is that these lines are more blurred. Do you feel like those lines being blurred, if they are so, you can of course disagree with me, have helped you to be more, can I call it humble in terms of like attacking different topics and not being scared of acknowledging privilege where it exists for you and helping to like mash down these walls as an artist? Very long question.
Yeah. I'm just thinking now. I don't know if it's that blurred in Brazil. There is like a big difference between white people and black people, and we also have pardos, which is like a mixed race. And of course, class is
Social
very,
class,
very, very defined in Brazil. Like you have like the elite, and you have the middle class who think sometimes they are elite, and you have the lower classes, working classes, and everything. So it's not that blurred in a way. Yeah. What was the question? Sorry.
I love this. Well, I was assuming that the lines were more blurred, and if that was helping you to shape your artistic, let's call it a power in a way to acknowledge privilege where it is and to knock down some barriers on behalf of others, or maybe that's not where you're getting your fuel from. Is it pure anger?
I think it's just anger. Yeah, I was thinking about it now, and I think it's just anger. Like first you're a therapist, maybe, but I use that in my art. And
So do you feel super vulnerable standing out here doing this performance?
Yeah.
As a human, I mean.
Yeah, definitely. Every performance that I do is like just, I'm so raw, and I'm like facing an audience that I don't know how they're gonna react. And Yeah.
Have you ever had negative experiences in your performances?
No, not yet.
No.
No. It might happen one day.
No.
Yeah.
Let's
not
say,
yet.
let's hope it doesn't.
It's okay if it does. Like I'm poking some, you know.
Of course you are, but that's what art is for. I really enjoyed this. It's kind of, I think this is the first time where I've witnessed a performance that is just, let's call it non-afraid, you know, because here in Norway we have a lot of subtle kind of directions for us to take, you know, so we have to stay correct in some sort, which leaves a lot of us doing artwork. We always have to debate, like, is this worth it or is that worth it, you know? So it's super nice to have a performance that is just head-on strong. I really like that. Is that going to be your legacy? Do you believe in legacy? Is this a history that you're writing that you want to leave behind, or?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I'm going to this path of like doing this mini protests in a way, and you know, again, poking people and telling them, hello, look what's happening in Brazil, look at what's happening in Norway as well, you know, because I've been trying as well to talk about what's happening in Norway, because of course, when I came here, I had this whole image of like Norway being perfect, and it's super okay to be queer here, which, of course, it is more advanced than many other countries. Like I could get married, for example. You know, I can adopt if I want to adopt, for example. Yeah, but there's so many things that are going backwards in Norway with the, you know, trans people not getting dignified healthcare, for example. That's so. Why is it so difficult for them to understand that a gender-affirming surgery is not cosmetic, for example?
Life-saving.
It's life-saving, but the government doesn't see that. And then if you want to have the surgery, you have to pay from your own pockets, and it's like very expensive.
Extremely.
Yeah. I don't know, 40,000 or something, plus all of the aftercare, and you can't work during the time, and they don't see that. And also, conversion camps. It's still a thing in Norway.
Yeah, they just banned it, like, recently.
Yeah, but like now, right? Because like this month or something.
Yeah, but very recent.
2023.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm laughing, because it's like, it's very dystopian. Yep.
So yeah, Norway is not perfect, and
you were shocked to find that out. Well, I guess we do a lot of good promotional work, like outside of our borders and representing Norway. When you come here, you are very disappointed. I'm sorry. Well,
but there are good things here, of course.
Yeah.
But,
and Bergen is a very good spot to be doing what you do, I think. There's a lot of good movement there. A lot of people who are enthusiastic about change.
Yes. Yeah.
Are there a lot of people who are as angry as you, or are you like the tip of the iceberg in terms of anger?
There's like more angry people.
More angry people.
Yeah. It's not just
so
me,
you
for
found
sure.
your group. I love that.
Definitely.
What's next for you in terms of art? Do you have any? Do you know any projects upcoming, or what you want to do?
I do. I have some stuff already lined up. I'm gonna do a performance in Boston in November with the Performance Art Bergen group. But I'll do my own thing, and I'm still writing the performance. It's not ready at all yet, but I'm gonna somehow talk about the anti-trans bills. Laws, anti-trans laws that are happening in the U.S., Florida, Texas, and everywhere else. So I'm doing, like, reading some Reddit threads of people, trans people who are living in the U.S. and like how they feel about it, and so I'm still writing that. But I was like, I'm gonna be in the U.S. for the first time performing. Why not talk about that?
Yeah,
which
you
is
scared?
happening right now. Nah,
No,
it'll be fine.
yeah,
I'm from Brazil.
Yeah,
I'm
because
fine.
because I experience you as very courageous. Is that you as a private person as well?
Mm.
You don't have no fear walking around being queer, do you? Because you're saying that
Mm.
Norway, you have experienced Norway a little bit different than what you expected. Is that something that is personal experiences or like more political stories that you know about?
More political.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing personal
Mm.
has happened to me
Good for
in
you. Good for
Norway.
you.
Yeah, yeah. I've been quite lucky with that.
Mm.
And it's more like, yeah, the whole thing with healthcare for trans communities and non-binary people not being recognized yet by the system. If you're non-binary, then the medical system doesn't really understand
And you don't exist.
where
It's
to
just as easy
put.
as that.
Yeah. So you have to choose still one of the binary,
Yeah.
you know? Like, oh, no, you can't be anywhere else.
No,
You
no,
have
no.
to choose one of these two.
Yeah.
And
It's very
like,
fun
yeah,
to be
yeah.
non-binary.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
these things are like
Mm.
just telling me that Norway has a long way
Yeah, we
to
do.
go.
Is Brazil different there? Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like, how does trans people, are they recognized in Brazil? Both the binary and the non-binary trans people? How is the legislation?
Non-binary, not yet.
No.
Not yet. In terms of laws, yeah, it's still non-existent.
Okay.
But there's a big movement in terms of the language that, of course, comes from the queer community. Because Portuguese is a very gendered language, so everything is gendered in Portuguese. Like a table is feminine, you know, like a sofa is masculine, for example. So everything is gendered. But there's been like this movement in terms of changing some of the words and the pronouns, and it's still very, very in the beginning. But it's
What does your
happening.
friend say? I'm assuming you're like, hey,
Yeah.
what's up? How's it going over there?
Yeah, I mean, it is better now.
Yeah.
With Lula being the president. Way better. Just this week, the Supreme Court in Brazil has ruled that homophobia is now punishable by prison. So that's a big, big thing, like, you know, law-wise. Of course, the society has to change a lot as
Yeah.
well. And again, there's a long way to go, but having the law on our side is, of course, a good thing.
Yeah, do you believe in it? Do you think it will make actual change?
It's a good first step.
Yeah.
It's a good first step. Yeah. But we also have a lot of conservative ministers in the Supreme Court, some judges and stuff. So they're gonna fight against this as well.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Because one thing Bolsonaro did really well, which you have also, and I love that, taken on in your art, is this way of using symbolism and easy symbolism to capture the Brazilian people, like using the colors of green and yellow, and how you showed us in your video installation that the Brazilian flag became this way of expressing hate, which is it's hard to be able to accuse somebody of hate in terms of just a flag. Yeah. So even if you're expressing something very clearly, you can never really be arrested on it, as we say in Norwegian. And you told us in that video installation what it was like coming home, searching for these rainbow flags and seeing everything. And I remember the first time I saw the video beforehand, I was like, okay, yeah, watching it, thinking, processing. And today it added an extra layer because I realized that you're actually witnessing hate in subtle but screaming forms all around you while searching for fellowship. Could you please elaborate a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a shock when I went to Brazil last year to make the film, because I hadn't been in Brazil for 2.5 years because of COVID. so I couldn't travel there. And of course, I knew that Bolsonaro supporters were everywhere, and they were somehow showing their support. But just, yeah, on the drive, from the airport to my parents' house, I was like, why so many flags, Brazilian flags on these balconies? And then we came to my parents' building, like apartment building, and yeah, 2 balconies had the flags, and I was like, Dad, what's this? Is it Bolsonaro supporters? And he was like, yeah, the neighbor from the, 5th floor or something, and the neighbor from the 2nd floor. And then a few days later, I took my camera to go around, and yeah, flags, Brazilian flags. And there was just so much hate, because that's what it symbolizes now. The Brazilian flag and the football shirt.
Yeah.
The yellow one. Because all of the movements pro-Bolsonaro, people were wearing the yellow football shirt. And it's like, that's not your symbol to take. It's for the whole country. Why are you doing this?
It's crazy.
And now, even without Bolsonaro as the president, I still connect to both things, It's there now.
So the association is already set, and it's kind of damaged. But you used this in an art project, right?
Yeah, I used the football shirts as well in another project. And I took 3 of the shirts, and I embroidered these 3 words, one on each shirt. Sapatão, which means dyke. Viado, which means faggot. And travesti, which is a transvestite, but it's also like a political term of like this kind of like non-binary people and more like trans women. And all of those 3 terms, they have been reclaimed by the queer community. So I'm like just proudly wearing my sapatão, which is a dyke, shirt on the back. And like reclaiming the shirt as well, because again, it's not just theirs. It's for everyone. It's our country. Like,
Did you feel some sort of catharsis when you did that part of the project?
Yeah. It did feel good to like just get this back.
Did you also feel like you were giving the middle finger to all of the conservative voices?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Also in the same exhibition, I put I had traveled to Brazil before, and during the campaign for the presidential elections, and they were selling towels with Bolsonaro face and also with Lula's face. So it was like, you buy the towel for the person that you support. And then I bought Bolsonaro's towel, and I put like on the floor, and like people could like step on him, and like when entering the exhibition, so I was like, yes,
I love it.
Step on his face. Yeah. It was fun.
Sounds fun. I want to be there.
Should do that one again.
Well, I love that you're able to make something that is actually, I'm guessing, just pure pain, and turn it into power, turn it into something we can laugh about, and to have that as fuel. Because I think as queer people, we often forget to laugh. I think we should laugh a lot more than we do. Not because our lives are easy or we are supposed to forget all that is happening around us, but it's a matter of finding that balance or that foothold in the world, and be able to like stay connected and grounded to each other. Is that a community that you feel like exists around you, both in Bergen but also while traveling around Europe? Have you been able to find these communities of people that are holding on to each other in such a, not necessarily a laughing way, but a positive way? Because you went to Hilda's bar. It was a Hungary.
Oh yeah.
I'm curious about that as well.
No, yeah,
I'm just pulling you
there. Hilda's bar was a bar in a residency that I was part of. So it was like a very small bar that the person who was coordinating the residency like created, like a queer bar within the residency.
Oh yeah. So living collective sort of, and an experimental bar, or
yeah, for the ones who were there as art residents. So it wasn't really open to the public or anything.
Okay,
That one specifically, but in general, yeah, I think I'm surrounded by really a good group of people who are also strong and who care about the same things, and both in Bergen and in Brazil, in Fortaleza. I think it's important to find this strength together, because we're fighting for the same things. We're fighting also to survive in this society. And the more together we are, the stronger we are. And it's important to find this group.
Do you feel like that's true though? Because this is something I've been wanting to discuss with you, is this this topic of diversity and disagreement that we can find within the queer movement is, and I think this goes international, local, whatever you want to call it, is this I think that a lot of us are scared to be in open disagreement in terms of our movement being kind of dispersed. You know what I mean? Like here in Norway, we have, let's say, 3 or 4 big factions of movements that is within the queer community, and whenever these factions are in disagreement, it feels a little bit like your world is trembling, because it's like, are we losing our direction right now or not? And then I for myself, I'm wishing for a world where we are more tolerant of this disagreement and using that as a catalyst for change. What has your experience been like there? Are people open to your criticism? Are you in a space where you can voice your opinions like fearlessly? What has been like for you?
I feel like maybe I'm in a bubble. You know?
Bubble, yeah.
Yeah, I feel that I create like this bubble of good allies and people around me. So there hasn't been any hate speech towards me or my art or anything, you know? But again, anything can happen. And I think the more I can spread my art, if my art goes to Brazil, for example, I could have a different reaction than in this Norwegian art context, that people are more tolerant, like you're saying.
And very polite.
Very polite, very sugarcoating as well. So it's good to have this alliance, and I'm glad for it, but I know that they are very polite in a way, very tolerant, Again, if it was in Brazil, it would be a whole different story.
Yeah,
because
I'm
so let's see when I exhibit something in Brazil, how they're gonna react.
Is that on your plan to do that?
Yeah, I really want to. I just haven't had the chance yet, because all of my art career happened in Europe. So I haven't had the chance yet, but of course I want to.
Yeah, it would be great.
Yeah,
won't be able to come and see it, but
you never know.
I also wanted to ask you if you feel like, because you're telling us how you came to Europe and that's when you realized that stuff happened in Brazil and the statistics and stuff. But do you feel like growing up there and witnessing things, even when you were, let's call it closeted, did that kind of force your hand into merging your art and your activism together? Like we call it artivism. Yeah. Do you feel like that's that it was inevitable in terms of your growing up and becoming this artist?
I think so. Yeah, because some of my works, like this one that I'm showing here, Momentum, the video piece, I talk about my coming out story with my parents. My mom is like really religious, for example, and there's always been this talk about, but what I don't know, my cousin is gonna say about it, about me having a lesbian child, and all of these things just got stuck in my head, and now I'm using that somehow to talk about it, and it's my therapy in a way, like talk about my coming out story in a video piece. But all that happened to me before coming to Europe, it's still together with me, and it's gonna like somehow become a work. So I can talk about it, and people may or may not relate to it, you know. Yeah.
Trauma. Yeah, but I'm just listening in, and I'm just like, I'm just imagining the kind of the baggage that you carry and how you're able to shape that into something beautiful but raw. It's a journey, because it's a lot of us have a lot of baggage, a lot of trauma that we carry with us, but not all of us are able to channel that into something that can change lives for others, you know. So I just want to tell you that that's what you're doing. This is very, very good.
Thank you so much.
Is there anything you would like to tell us about, or do you want to open the floor to the audience?
We can open the floor, I think. Yeah. Let's see if anyone has any questions. Then, yeah.
Yeah.
I can ask. Thank you for the nice conversation. I'm wondering, because you have this real-time aspects in your works, like you use things that happens in real life and bring it into your art. And today you have chosen to have your performance in the same day as the Moss Pride Parade, which brings a local aspect to your work. Can you say something about the decision for that? Or have you been in dialogue with them, or how do you talk to them? Or
with Moss Pride, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How will you participate in Pride?
Yeah. The performance that I did now, it does talk about pride. It's a criticism towards how pride became, very capitalist as well. Corporations like profiting over our bodies, our struggles. And then I thought, when I got invited to do the performance here, I thought, why not do in the same weekend as Pride? Then maybe they could come and see it and have a think about it. I don't know how Moss Pride is. I like how Pride happens in small towns as well. It's not like a criticism against Moss Pride. It's against Pride in general. So I did talk to them by email, just asking if they could, come or bring some people and stuff. And they replied super nicely that the schedule was quite tight already, because the parade is happening at 3 today, and they had a lot of things happening throughout the whole day, so it wasn't really possible for them to be here or to participate in any way. But I tried, and yeah. Yeah, but we're gonna go to the parade at 3 and march with them as well. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Because at least for this performance you had today, you've used the color purple throughout the whole thing. Your clothes, your signs, the big banner, even the sound system, everything was purple.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, was there a deeper thought behind choosing that color, or is it purely like an aesthetical choice?
Yeah, everything makes sense in my... I mean, I want it to make sense. But no, the color purple comes from... It's quite associated with queer, mainly the lesbian struggles. I think I was actually reading about it this week again, that they use the lavender color, which is purple lavender. I think the first person who actually used it talking about queer was Sappho, the poet from Greece. And yeah, she used in one of her poems. And then in the 1920s in Berlin. So when Berlin was quite liberal, and there was a song. I won't remember the name of the song now, but it had like something with lavender as well, and so it became like this color, this symbol of queer and lesbians a lot. And yeah, and since I was talking about that, and I'm a lesbian, so it made sense to, I think, use it in this performance particularly. Yeah.
I think also in Norway, before there were queer spaces, the lesbians would wear purple to recognize.
Okay, didn't know that. Yeah, great.
Me neither.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Thanks. Yeah.
Speaking about codes, though,
Yeah.
I'm not sure how well this will record my question, but in any case, it will be fine. I'm just thinking for people like outside the codes, because the codes has also been used of safety reasons, right? Especially in times when you need the code to tell who you are, so people could approach each other. But like today, I feel it's a lot of discussion around like queer communities being exclusive and, you know, like a bubble, and operating with the same kind of well, not all of them, of course, but that some queer people also have a very binary thinking around being queer. So I'm just thinking for the listener that are not so deeply into these issues, could you explain a bit more around your thoughts about coding on one hand, and this way of being binary within the non-binary world?
Yeah. Yeah, the code thing. How can I talk about that? Tough question. Can I go with the other one first, and then about the binary, and there's a whole thing in the queer movement, mainly, I mean, from gays and lesbians, that they try to exclude the T from the acronym, like trans and queers and everything. And that's just absurd for them to do that, because, I mean, trans people started Pride. They were the ones in Stonewall, like facing the police, and the whole movement about liberation as well came from the trans community. And then when you see cis gay men just saying, no, you're not man enough, or you're not woman enough, or it's just, no, stop. Stop doing that. Same thing with the TERFs, the radical lesbians who are saying that trans women cannot be in the same fight. Like, they are also women, and why don't you just accept them and fight together and like make the fight even stronger?
Yeah, right.
Why do you have to separate, you know? It is called LGBTQ IP plus for a reason, like, because it's a whole thing, and but it happens a lot. It happens within the queer community. And yeah.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think we do that?
Excluding.
And I'm not just talking about the trans thing, but just in general, I think we are like putting up all these different walls of categories and using them towards each other in different ways. Why do you think that is? I'm going to use you as this professor right now. Okay, come on.
Maybe because we think that we are better than the others, that I'm gonna use cis gay men, for example, and also cis lesbian women in this because that's what I researched a bit more. But they have their rights conquered.
Mm-hmm.
They can, at least in Norway, in many other countries, they can get married, they can adopt, they can work. They couldn't work before, and maybe it's enough.
Mm-hmm. That
There's
they're
like-
satisfied.
Yeah, there's like no empathy. And then they come with this thing that, oh yeah, but trans people didn't exist before is a new thing, or non-binary is a new thing. It's not.
No.
They've been here for ages.
It's very funny. Yeah.
Yeah, they've been here for ages. Maybe, yeah, even longer than you have been here, you know? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They don't see the others. They just think, okay, it's
Mhm.
enough. And
Yeah. It's a difficult question to answer, you know. So
yeah,
so
yeah, it is. Yeah,
But I still asked you. So
thank you.
good job. What was the other part of your question, Tina?
No, it was just about coding. But it's sort of, yeah, I think you answered because you told a bit about being exclusive and
Okay.
the struggle within. It was more like for the listener again to because I guess and I hope that is many people listening that are not so familiar with
Yep.
this kind of living, and that's why we tell about it.
Yeah, yeah.
So this way of having codes, colors, or the lavender flower, or like a carnation or whatever, like signalizing. And but I could maybe ask you one more question though,
Yeah.
because this is a way of being visible within your community using codes. But I want to follow up on what you said about pride being commercial and capitalist in a sense, because this is also a question that I hear many places that is any visibility good or is some visibility bad? So maybe you want to add something about like pride as a capitalist phenomenon, but also actually a space where queerness is visible to most people that are not exposed like every day. So it's like once a year or whatever, or a month a year.
Yeah.
And there's rainbows everywhere. But do you think that's a bad thing, or is it good? Or something in between, maybe?
In between, I would say, because we fought so hard to conquer this space, to be able to have this whole month for ourselves, you know? And then people can see that, oh yeah, there are queer people in the world, that's true. They're here partying and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. And it's important, like I said, like having small cities also having pride. Like Moss, Høstutstillingen, for example, that's like super tiny, but they have a pride there. And not only in big cities. But again, what bothers me is just how they're making money over us and just not giving jobs for queer people, not supporting in any way. And yeah, what I really like as well now is trans pride. It's amazing. I love trans pride. It feels like a protest again. That's how, you know, it's always been. And I was in London this summer, and there was trans pride there on the weekend that I was there. Luckily, I didn't even remember and I didn't even plan, and it was like there, and it was way smaller than the other Pride. But there was like no commercial things happening, because I had been in the other Pride in London before, and you have like this parade with the cars and banks and Starbucks with the rainbow logo and everything. And then Trans Pride was like, it was a march. We marched for, I don't know, 1 hour, and it was raining, of course. And like we just shouting, protect trans kids, and so many times, and there was like this strong voice in like a choir thing, you know? And that felt like Pride again. Protesting, and this is not right. And we are like here to tell that it's not right. So I love that. And Norway also has Trans Pride. Yeah, Oslo, Bergen, Trondheim. It's happening actually in September now, so like, you know, like Pride, like protesting. It's okay to party, of course. We have to party as well. We have to have fun. But don't give all the money to banks and Remachusen and the billionaires already. Yes, Maya has a question.
Yes, but do you see yourself then with one leg in each? So one leg in the Trans Pride and one in the Pride, or do you? Because what happens to the movement if it becomes fragmented, like smaller and smaller in a democracy where it's the amount of voices that counts somehow? Or where do you position yourself against the Pride parade?
I think attending both is important, because you are showing the support for the other Pride and the Trans Pride as well, and I don't see why not. You cannot go to both, but I think the Trans Pride is coming to, I think the London one has 5 years already, like they happened for 5 years, and so it's quite new. It's just coming to show that we still have a lot to fight for, you know? And the other Pride is, I see it now as a more like, we conquered our space, we're here now. But let's use the space.
See, you do that?
Yeah. Let's use it. We conquer is here, let's use it, why not?
And also that relates to what Mabell said about accepting in different opinions within.
Yeah.
Thing doesn't have to be black and white.
Exactly. Exactly.
It reminds me a little bit about how we marched post the attack that was here last summer.
Yep.
We marched 1 week before the big Pride parade, and what you're describing in terms of the Trans Pride movement in London, it looked kind of the same in Oslo this year. We were enraged, we were fighting for our spot, we were shouting at our lungs. We are scared, we don't feel like we're on top. And I think what you're saying is it's important to be part of both, because it was very easy to march in the official Pride parade and it was challenging to march in the protest march. So like I said before, like we can't be on either side, I believe. We have to find some middle ground, and we can, of course, we can swirl in between, but it's a matter of finding that energy to keep going. And I want you also to keep going.
Yeah. I will. I will.
Thank you.
For sure.
I am sorry to say that the time is here.
Oh my God.
If you want to march in Moss Pride, we should wrap it up.
We should.
Thank you so much for your installation, your performance, your answers, your honesty, your courageous work, everything that you do. You are amazing. So I'm very happy to have this conversation with you, and thank you for coming and listening and seeing this.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Let's march now.
Yes.
Yeah.
You'll now hear the recording from the performance by Nayara Leite called Homodagene, 26 August 2023 at Galleri F15 in Moss.
I'm glad we are plural. I'm glad we are plural. I'm glad we are plural. I am glad we are gay and women and immigrant and lesbian and Latinx and people of color and queer and black and Jewish and disabled and trans and indigenous and Muslim and bisexual and Sami and intersex and working class and non-binary and mixed race and neurodivergent and asexual and Asian and pansexual and more, so much more. We are shaped by our identities, shaped but not defined. In 1982, Audre Lorde said, "There is no such thing as a single-issue struggle, because we don't live single-issue lives." Reflecting on how it was to live in the 60s, a decade that saw the rise of the Black Power movement, but also saw the assassination of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, Lorde said she constantly had to justify her existence, not because of her work, but because of her identity. She was a black lesbian woman, a mother and a wife, living in an interracial marriage. She had plural struggles, but white and sexist America wanted her to choose one. She refused to. "60 years later, here we are. We are stronger because the way was paved by the ones before us, by the ones who were exhausted from having to conform, by the ones like Audre Lorde. But we're still living in a racist, misogynist, homophobic, transphobic society. We are still having to justify our existence, not because of what we do, but because of how we identify. We don't live single-issue lives. Our struggles are plural. We are plural. I'm glad we are plural. June is Pride Month. June is when we take our flags and hang them outside. June is when corporations do the same. June is when they show their support as the good allies they are. June is when they change their logos on Instagram into a rainbow-colored version. Wow, what an effort. June is when they pretend they are inclusive. June is when they pretend they create safe spaces, but only in June. The rest of the year, they don't hire LGBTQ plus staff. The rest of the year, they don't commit to fighting for us. They only commit to lying. Rainbow merch all around us. Rainbow merch benefiting straight people. Rainbow washing our existence. Happy, sponsored by DNB, Pride Month, I guess. For them, pride equals profit. Profit on our struggles, profit on our history. For them, pride is still white, it's still cis, it's still heteronormative. Diversity? Nah, thanks. That's way too risky. For them, pride is a money-making party, an outdated one. They use the term queer because it's trendy. But do they know what it means? For us, pride is celebration. Celebrating what the ones who came before us have achieved. For us, pride is protest. This is how it started, and this is how it's always going to be. We'll never run out of things to protest, because society wasn't built to include us. We have come far, but not far enough. We have been fighting our whole life because we need to. Because we're still being denied dignified health care. Because we're still being misgendered. Because we're still having to argue over gender-neutral toilets. Because we're still being sent to conversion camps. Because we're still being spat on. Because we're still being shot outside queer bars. Because we lack protection from the government, from society, from our families. We fight for equal rights, but that's bullshit. Equal rights can't exist in this society. We'll keep marching, we'll keep yelling, we'll keep carrying our banners. But we'll never have the same rights as a white, cis, straight man. We fight to at least have some of their rights. Is that too much to ask? We are more than that single identity we thought we had. They taught us wrong. They wanted us to fit the norms, binary norms, heteronormative norms. So, we created new identities. We came up with new terms and rescued old ones. We took it all back because it belongs to us. We are dykes and fags and queers. We are sapatões and viados. We are Latina, lesbian, immigrant women. And we are non-binary black Muslims. And we are intersex people of color. And we are trans, bisexual, mixed race. And we are gay, neurodivergent, indigenous people. We are more than a singular box to check. We are plural. And I'm so glad for that. Hi. Thank you for coming. Hi. Thank you. Hi. Thank you. Hi. Thank you. Hello. Thank you. Thank you. Speak to you as well. Thank you. Hi. Thank you. Hi. Thank you. Hi. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Billedkunst Live, recorded 26th of August 2023 directly from Galleriet 15 at Jeløya in Moss. The artist is Nayara Leite, in dialogue with poet, activist, writer Mabell Holand. Further information and reading about the artist and the project could be found at the webpage billedkunst.no. Thank you Høstutstillingen, the autumn exhibition, for being partner in this production. Also Galleriet 15 at Jeløya, Momentum 12, Tenthaus, the curators, and the artists. Thank you to Statens Fritt Ord, the Fritt Ord Foundation, Arts and Culture Norway, and Sparebankstiftelsen for funding of Billedkunst and Billedkunst Live. This recording was made possible by the technical assistance from Håvard Nilsen at F15, Tine Sem from Billedkunst, Christer Reitan for technical assistance in general, and Nayara Leite. My name is Tine Sem and I'm the co-editor of Billedkunst.